They're circling like sharks around the BBC. It's the same group of people, the same voices, right-wing extreme press, GB News, Talk Radio, Donald Trump, the MAGA movement, people like Andrew Neil at the BBC, Peter Hitchens, the usual Farage. They're there like sharks, aren't they, again? They smell blood. Now, wasn't it last time it was like Philip Schofield came out as gay and maybe he wanted to, he had a relationship with a runner on that TV programme? That's when they last tried to defund and destroy the BBC, wasn't it? Well, this time it's to do with the Trump speech and the way that it was edited. So they're pouncing. They'd love to get rid of the BBC. But why? Why do they hate the BBC so much? Why is this organisation that has really set the tone for all that's great about Britain in many ways since 1930s? But this has really got nothing to do with the BBC at all. This is all part of their political shenanigans. And it should be, to be honest, bleeding obvious, really. I mean, Trump, according to the Washington Post, he was telling 14,000 lies. He was broadcasting 14,000 untruths and lies every year. The BBC, the greatest broadcasting corporation probably in history, where journalists typically were doing 7-year apprenticeships. They were doing degrees in journalism. They were doing 2 years then on a local newspaper, and then maybe 2 years at the BBC apprenticeship. You know, this is a quality organisation, whatever you think. They don't fall for this idea that they've got some kind of propaganda. There's no proper. What's the secret? What are they flashing? Are they flashing signs up during Strictly Come Dancing? You know, was Ernie Wise and Morecambe and Wise, was he kind of, you know, giving sort of little communist asides, promoting left-wing ideas? It's just so ridiculous. The whole thing is just completely nutty. They will get rid of it, by the way. There's no point in me sort of getting all nostalgic about it. This is a cruel world, and you know, we will end up just with the sort of ridiculous, untested, arbitrary, made-up soup that is the so-called new social media, where everybody's got an opinion on everything and nothing counts for very much. It's a vacuum. It's just a load of steam. So, okay, I've slightly got over my, shall we say, a little bit of anger, because this sickens me, actually. Most of these people grew up with the BBC. The BBC was there to entertain, it was there to inform, it was there to educate, and it did those three things, and it still does to this day. Yeah, the BBC's a minority sport. I know nobody wants the BBC anymore. There's just a few 100,000 people who kind of enjoy the quality programmes on the BBC, but they haven't got a chance. It'll go. So, you know, whoever you guys are, you will win. You will win. You won't win. You won't win our souls. But you probably will get the BBC defunded as soon as possible. I mean, you know, if Farage gets in. Anyway, why do they hate the BBC so much? I mean, it's just, think of it just a TV station, isn't it? Well, they hate it for two reasons. They hate it because they feel a bit left out. They feel that it's got broad views, many of which they don't share. This is just a purely political thing. They don't really like the amount of black people the BBC show, because the BBC tends to distribute its programming amongst diverse people. It tends to represent the population and the reality of living in Britain today, and they don't like that. They don't like that. They don't like their editorial decisions. They don't like the way they speak. They don't like the topics. They don't like the staff demographics. They don't like, there's something they hate about it. They also hate universities for the same reason. You know, this is why they hate Durham University, York University. They don't like them. They think they're snobbish, they think they're elitist because they are based on a certain kind of quality of thought, really. A certain kind of quality of broadcast, a quality of education. They don't really like it. It doesn't really fit their right tendencies. So they will always think of the BBC as a kind of communist propaganda station, you know, even though evidentially it's not. But this is all part of this new movement, isn't it? So that's one reason. The other reason, of course, is they don't like the fact that it's publicly funded. They've got something against a publicly funded national broadcaster, even though that national broadcaster has more than paid its way. So they want a world, they want a kind of YouTube world, right? Which is no professional editorial oversight whatsoever. You know, we come back to this free speech. You can just say anything you want, when you want. Nothing matters. It's a post-truth world. It's a post-human world in many respects. Insofar, it's post all of those things we thought were human virtues, like honesty was one of them. The thing about the BBC is it can contradict what they're saying. Not by being in opposition to it or by being contradictory, but simply by actually doing good journalism and telling the truth. The BBC isn't an emotional channel. Social media and these new media channels are pure emotion. That's the only way they get rewarded, okay? They're interested in outrage, not accuracy. It's all about grievance. There's nothing there except grievance. Take a channel like GB News, for example. All it is a bunch of old white guys and a few women who are pretending to be old white guys moaning about Keir Starmer 24 hours a day. And now the baton of moaning will pass on from me to the next presenter. Now, if you want to moan about Keir Starmer, that's fine. If you just literally want to moan about him and just have every single day of his premiership with that YouTube bloody banner which says Keir Starmer to be gone by Wednesday. Well, I mean, okay, a little bit, but 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every month, it's spinning into years now. So it's all about grievance, moaning, complaining. See, the BBC's not the channel. The BBC has changed over the times. The BBC is not the same channel it was in the 40s. It's kind of kept up with modernity. It's kept up with progressive ideas. It is representative of modern liberal Britain, which is what Britain is. No wonder they don't like the BBC, because they don't want modern liberal Britain. They want an imaginary Britain. They want the Britain of the John Major's Britain of back to basics, brown beer and cricket on the village green. But as I've said before, in my opinion, that is an illusion. And it's a delusion, and they're not going to get what they want, okay? But they found a way to monetize moaning. It's not just the BBC, it's public broadcasters all over the world. The same thing has happened with PBS in the States. The funding for PBS, which is I suppose the equivalent, but it's much, much smaller. It really is a very cultish broadcasting organisation. But they are constantly trying to defund it in Congress. They're constantly trying to do that. And the same thing has happened in Canada and in Australia, where they have a public broadcaster. It's part of the new politics to try and get rid of these television stations which still have the legacy of the authority they've had to challenge those who lie and deceive. They've got to get rid of them. Also, the BBC in some way still, in a much less pronounced way, it still kind of shapes and defines something of the British national culture, even if it's just in popular programming and in their news reporting. So they don't like that. They don't want an institution that can engage and set the cultural standards. They don't want these shared narratives. They don't want us having a common narrative. So they don't want a common broadcaster for all of us. The point is, this has got nothing to do with the BBC, really. This is to do with a new political agenda which relies on not having anybody who can verify or not verify the sort of crap that is now coming out from the extreme right.